today? How are you doing today? Oh, good. Maybe you just connected. Okay, that will join up. So, quickly, the last time we are talking about our database again. So, we have discussed about how we can be able to create a table. At the same time, we also talk about how we can be able to add a constraint to our table. We said that the importance of the constraint, just a minute, ma. We say the importance of this particular constraint is to make sure that the data in the table maintain its integrity. And we say the integrity of the table is just about how we are going to make sure that the every data we store inside our table are accurate and correct all the times. We don't want to create a table where the data that is stored there is not accurate or is not useful. He give example that when you have a record in a table and you have a duplicate record, you have a record whereby the two record have the same ID. If such a record in the table exist, it means the table do not have an integrity. And so creating this integrity is going to be done by apply what we call constraint to a table when you create a table in a database. And again, since I've started my server now, let me launch my WAMP server here now so that we can look at the work we do in the last class. So I'm now starting my SQL on the console here now. And remember, I said the login is root, and this time around, we already assigned a password to our login 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So first thing, I want to show all the database we have in the world, all the database we have on my SQL server now. I type show data basis, and at the same time, the database we are working on is a Newgate Hospital. I want to open it. I will make use of Newgate Hospital database. Good. So in this database where we have our tables, and to see all the tables that store the record, we say show tables. Show tables. This display all the tables. These are the 4 or 5 different tables we already created so far. And last time we had some constraint to some of those tables, like primary key constraint and also a unique key constraint. To see those constraints, we have to use a command called describe table so that describes the structure of each of the table. Let me see the doctor first, doctor table, and see some of the our doctor table we have did not have any constraint because the only constraint we have is not null, and the key constraint is not available. Okay, let me check the second table, which is patient 2, patient tables. Okay, patient table have a primary key constraint, and also let me check the next table, which is the payment and the word. The payment table and the word table. Okay, payment table now. Payment table do not have any key. And what about the word table? The word. Okay, the word table did not have any key again, simply because this table is already created. Remember, we say if you are adding a constraint to your table, constraint can be added to a new table, constraint can be added to existing table. We already discussed how to create a word table and the payment table, even though the doctor table, before we create a constraint. So when we create a constraint the last time, we create a new table called patient. We now add a constraint to it. Another table we see used in the last line is what we call country too. So let me also describe country. A country is another table we created, and this country show how to add a primary key constraint, and at the same time how we can also add the unique keyword constraint to the country table. You can see now that is it. So, and today we are going to continue from there. because we still have another important constraint we need to talk about from this our what the database work design here now, and we are going to talk about that particular what constraint. So we have been creating so many table. We have a drug table to be created now. We also have a medical history table we are going to be create too. Dey get now, and all dis particular one still require what a primary key again. So like today's topic now, we are going to see how we can also implement the next constraint which we call what a foreign key constraint. Now when we are talking about the foreign key constraint, a foreign key constraint is one that use to enforce a link and to maintain the what the referential integrity. Referential integrity mean that what if there is a table that have a relationship, referential integrity maintain the data integrity between the data in two table. The first table must be a child table while the second table must be a reference table, I mean a parent table. A child table is called a referencing table while the parent is called a reference table. Dat mean a child table must reference a parent table. A parent table is the table that have a primary key while the child table is one that have the foreign key. In order to remove what we call inconsis ten cy in dis two table, when data in the one table depend on data in another table, dats need for what we call foreign key constraint, because if there are two table that have a relationship and the foreign key constraint is not created on dis two table, the data in dis table will not be what accurate. The data will be inconsis ten t. Do you get it now? And for example now, creating a foreign key table prevent the action that will destroy the link between table, such as adding an order for a customer who does not exist. Dat is it. For example now, if you look at the table we are working on, how do you think e go to fit? Because we already have a several table here. We have a table for doctors, and at the same times, sorry let me see who is it? Okay, so now if you look at dis particular table here now, we have is it possible to have a patient record now without us having the record to it, I mean a doctor details? You know we already create a rate payment, or let me use the patient and the payment to explain what we call referential integrity between the two table. Let's say in the payment table we see a payment but we don't know the patient that made the payment. How would that kind of one be? In this case, an example of this again, because when I have a patient table like this, as it is a patient detail, I now have the patient number and I have the first name, okay, for the patient, and maybe now I have the age for the patient here now, and the information about the patient is this here. One, the name is Tinubu, the age is 67. The second patient is 2. We have Wike, and the age is 58. And the third patient now is Makinde, okay, Makinde, and now the age is 65 now. Okay, now I now have a payment payment detail table. We have a table that keep record of the payment all dis particular patient paid. Okay, so in dis particular table now, I have dis one called payment ID. Okay, after payment ID I have amount. Okay, and now we now have another call let's say date the payment is made, and lastly we now have what we call the patient number now, the patient ID or patient ID, and the patient ID is the same thing we have here called patient ID. You get now. So if you see something like this, it means the payment table, which is this one, and the payment here, the patient table, the table that contain the patient record and the payment, they have what we call relationship, simply because what, the patient ID exists in the payment table. So this payment detail is become what we call what, a parent. This now become what, a parent, because the ID which is a patient ID here is the parent, and while this payment here now become what we call what, a child what table. Now what they are saying now is these two table, do you get now? When I say payment ID 1, do you get now? Payment ID 101, and I say amount is what, 3,000 here now, and the date is what, January what, 26 here now. The next one, which of the patient that made the payment? I put the patient name here now. I say 2. If you want to find out patient who is Wike, good. You can come here and say 102 here. Another payment is what? Is 1,200 now. And that one is what? Is a December. Okay, that payment is December what? December 29 now. And that's a patient 1. If you have another payment again, 103 again, payment ID, and that is what, 2,400, and that one is paying what, in December what, December 29 again, and that's a patient 2. You can see that means the week make another payment. If you now have patient 104 now, we now have for 7,000 naira, and that is made on the what, on December what, December 31, and now we now see patient 5. The question now is this, is if you have a table that have a relationship, you have this record like this here, okay, let me arrange it properly. So you now see this record like, you now discover that one, in the one of your table, the payment ID show a patient 5. The question now is who is this patient 5? Does the record of the patient 5 exist here in the patient table? No. As long as you don't have a patient called patient 5 here now, it means this table has lost its integrity. This relationship you have, they have lost, it's not good again, because I make a record that not supposed to exist to what exist. So if you implement the referential integrity will prevent something like this record 104 that contain the patient 5 to be input into this table. It will tell you that what, you cannot add the record 104 for the patient that did not exist, because there is no patient called patient 5. It's like when a student say he want to register for a course in a school, and the school is not offering that course. If the student now register for course the school is not offering, who is going to take the student? So if a school database allows students to register for the course that did not exist, it means that school database has lost its integrity. That is it again. Or maybe in a company name, a department that did not exist, an employee is now adding to that work department. That means that table has lost its integrity. In order to prevent this, that is why that work, we must understand how to create what we call what, a foreign key constraint. That's what the foreign key constraint is. That's why they say that what, this prevent action that will destroy a link between the table. Like you are adding an order for a customer who does not what exist. For any order in the database in the company, there must be a customer that make that work order. Let's say there's an order now. The question now is that who is the customer that make the order? They get it now. And it's not found again. That is not good, because you can have a customer ID that did not exist. So that is what we call a foreign key constraint work is. So to now implement the foreign key constraint now, we have to implement it on our two table. One table must have a primary key, which is a parent table, while the second table must have what we call what, a foreign key constraint, which is what, a child what table. Like here now, if you look at all the table we have been working on, do you get it now? The table for the what, for the patient and the doctor, they have a relationship. So that means a foreign key constraint must be implemented, simply because if you look at the doctor ID here, and there must also be doctor ID here. That is it. Secondly, if you look at the medical history table and the doctor, they also have a relationship. The medical history table have relationship with with the patient and the doctor, because patient ID in the medical history table is a foreign key constraint. So here now, I can now come down here and see the patient ID here is now become a foreign key. So that is how you have, because the patient ID is a primary key in the patient detail. The doctor ID is another foreign key. A table can have more than one foreign key. That is two now. In the payment again, the patient ID become another foreign key here too. Do you get now? And the drug is being given to the patient. Patient ID is another foreign keyword constraint again. That is it. Okay, because we cannot assign a patient to we cannot assign the drug to patient that did not exist. Okay, so these are some of the foreign key we are going to try to implement now for us to understand this particular record. So what we are going to do now is there are tables that are very important here. The patient table, good, it has a primary key, but the patient table need a doctor ID for foreign key, which we don't have now. And the patient table and the payment, they also have another patient table and the parent, and the patient table and the payment table must also have what we call a relationship. So now what we are going to do now is if you look at our table here again, we have a patient table. We already create a payment. We have the patient table that have a primary key. Good. So then we need to create a table that have a foreign key now, and that will be the drug now. Do you get it now? Good. That will be the drug. So we can do something like this to do the analysis. That patient I call it relationship. Relationship relationship okay, available. So I can say patient detail and drug. That's one drug. There are relationship between them, and patient detail too. Patient also has relationship with the doctors, with the doctor detail. Okay, patient also have relationship. Okay, no, patient is the primary key now. So this time around now, this is going to be medical history. Medical history also has relationship with the with the patient detail. Okay, and medical history also have relationship with I think doctor too. Yes, doctor details. Okay, and also the patient have relationship with with the payment. I think payment to patient now. Yeah, that is the payment. Okay, payment payment so payment to patient detail. Okay, this payment ID, patient ID, the patient and the drug. Okay, and that's going to be drug now. Is a drug to patient. Okay, that will be drug to patient detail. Drug to patient detail now. Okay, so these are the type of I'm trying to highlight the type of relationship we are going to be created here now. Because if you look at the drug here, the drug ID is a primary key. Drug become a parent table, and patient ID here is a foreign key here now. So drug come first, patient detail. If you look at the payment ID is the primary key. So payment become a parent, and patient ID, that is it. If you look at medical history ID is the what? Medical history here become a primary key table because we have patient ID and we also have doctor ID that serve as foreign key. That's it now. But what detail? No relationship here. And the patient and doctor too, yes. So that means in this case, we are going to establish about 5 different relationship here now. So I want to start from the patient detail and the drug because we already have a patient table here, and we already created a patient table with the primary key. Do you get it now? That is it. So but we don't have a table for for the drug here now. Good. So we are going to create a table for the drug. So we will now see how to implement the relationship between this table for the drug and the patient now. And that is it. And for us to implement this relationship here now, sorry for that, we are going to use this particular sample code. So because we are going to see how to create a relationship on a new table. That is it. We are creating a new table now to apply the relationship to the second table. Since the relationship we are creating now is from the drug to the patient, good. It means the patient table exists. We are now going to create a drug table, and drug table is going to reference the child table that have a foreign key. Do you get now? So and that is going to be the drug to patient table now. Like I said later, we are going to see how to add this relationship to existing table too. So to do that again, I will now return back quickly here and create a table command by say create a table. The table is going to be drugs now. Okay, and that's going to be drug ID. That is integer number 1, and not null number 2. And after that again, the next column we have here is going to be drug name. Okay, you say drug name, and that will be var character. I know drug name can be long, so you can call it 250 letters. Okay, that is it. And after that again, we have a expire date. That going to be expire date for drug, and that will be date. Now after that again, we have a quantity of the drug, say QTY, and that will be integer. Okay, so that will be integer now. Okay, let me just bring this one down. We have dosage, manufacturer, good. Dosage and manufacturer, that is it. So after quantity, dosage, manufacturer, and patient. So I'm going to have dosage, that should be integer. Oh, let's say bar character or character now, or maybe 1 morning 1 night. So I can say character now because that's not much, and I think going to be 3 or 4. Okay, so 3 or 4. The reason why I'm going to be 3 or 4, okay, let's say 5 now. Okay, so that for dosage. Dosage letter is going to be input like this. If I say 1 1 1, that means 1 morning 1 night. That is just it. If you say 1 1 1, 1 morning 1 afternoon 1 night, that is it. So if you look at this again now, this is the highest one, this is a 5, and that's why I make use of the word of the character here as 5 letter for dosage. So after dosage, we have what we call manufacturers and patient ID now. So here now I can say manufacturer, the company that or producer, to short it, producer, the company that produce the drug, var character, and that may be around 250 letters again because company name might be long, and patient ID. I say patient ID now. Patient ID here is going to be integer. Okay, you see now, All these are the column for the what? For the new table I'm creating now. But after that particular last column, which is patient ID, the next thing I will now going to do now is to now apply the constraint. You get it now? To apply the constraint. Constraint is going to be what? I must apply the foreign key constraint to the what? To the key I'm using as a foreign key, and also a primary keyword constraint too. Do you get now? Because this particular first ID must be foreign key. Do you get it? So for me to be able to do that, because the foreign key must also exist in the drug table here. This my drug table must have a foreign key. Hello? Hello? Are you saying something? Okay, what's the question? Okay, okay, no problem. Okay, no problem, Ayomi. So now the next thing now to do now is just to make sure this drug ID must have a primary key, and also we have only one foreign key here. Before that again, remember how we create our last table, because in the last table now we have seen how to apply the word the primary keyword constraint too. Do you get it now? To the table. If you remember this, when I'm applying the primary key to this particular table here, where is that table? Okay. After the last, I say primary key apply. So this time around, I must apply the primary key again to the drug ID first. Do you get it now? So coming down here again, after this patient ID, comma, I will now add there and say what? Primary key constraint. But the primary key I'm adding now is going to be adding to the drug ID. That means out of all the column I have here, drug ID, drug name, expire date, quantity, dosage, one of them is going to be a primary key, which is because I'm creating a new table, which is going to be drug ID. And now say primary key is what? Drug ID like this. Okay, sorry. It's the drug ID. So here now, okay, drug ID now. So I'm removing the drug ID here. That means I made the drug ID to be a primary key. So once that is done now, the next thing now to specify the foreign key constraint. I will now say constraint I'm creating now. Constraint now, which I want to apply based on what I have here, is going to be foreign key. Do you get it now? So, and which of the column is going to be a foreign key? So I'll just implement that one here. First, when I say constraint and create fk, that means foreign key constraint. Foreign key constraint is going to be on the wall, on the patient ID, and say part wall ID, because the part ID that is there, the patient ID that is there is a foreign key. Do you get it now? While the drug ID in this new table is a primary key. So I've defined that what drug ID is primary key, and now I'm also going to define that what the patient ID is going to be foreign key. So here now I can now use keyword called what? Foreign key like this. So when I say foreign key like this, I will now say patient what? Patient ID. Patient ID here. So this one mean I'm using this particular word patient ID that is here as a foreign key. Do you get it now? While I'm using the drug ID here as well a primary one key. You can see how this one is going now. Okay. So once that is done, the last activity here now is now to now do what? Reference this foreign key. This foreign key I'm using now, it exists from a particular table. The table that foreign key exists from, I will now reference the table that this foreign key here is matching another key in another table. And I say what? References. Do you get it now? When I say references, let me say the spelling here very well. So I will say references, and this time around now, okay, references, Okay, the name of the table that contain that word, primary key for that foreign key. Okay, references now. The table is for patient table. You know, these are patient table here. Okay, when I say patient table now, what is the name of the column in the patient table that I'm using as a primary key? Don't forget, the spelling of that column must be properly. This is a patient table, but this is a column I'm using as a what? Primary key. You can see it here now. I will now type that column by say what? Patient ID 2. Okay, I hope there's no okay. Patient ID. That is it. So once that patient ID is done, do you get it now? I already end this particular one command. I close this bracket because this is bracket I used to start with. Do you get now? So once that bracket is closed, I will now specify the engine I'm using, which is very important. Do you get it now? And that's going to be what? Engine equal to what? I know what DB now. Semicolon. So this one mean I'm creating a table with the relationship. So when I press enter key here, oh error now. So you see error is coming from FK part where I'm using the foreign key now. So that's where the error come from. So up arrow key, this error is coming from here. It's coming from this section here now. Where I specify foreign key. Constraint. Is my constraint correct? Because that's why I fear now. The spelling for the constraint. Okay. Create table drug ID, not null, drug name, expire date, quantity, dosage, yes, producer, yes. After that, patient ID, primary key, drug ID is okay. Constraint, did I need to use comma for that constraint? After no, yes. Oh, constraint. Is that the spelling I use? Constraint. Oh, S is not supposed to be after the constraint here. Can you see? This S is not supposed to be there. Constraint. Okay, and this one constraint. Okay, that's where the error come from. Spelling here. So after constraint keyword, I must specify the name I'm giving to that constraint and using the constraint keyword there to now specify that patient ID is the foreign key here now. And the references the patient table as the primary key. Let me press enter key again. Good, that's all now. So finally, we have created the table with relation. That means the drug table and the patient table, they have relationship. So if I come down here now to say describe drug table now. So you see the structure for this drug table. Can you see? When you see MUL, it means this is a foreign key constraint. So again, if I say describe again now for the table that have a primary key, which is patient table, it will be patient here now. Okay, you can see now this patient here is a primary key, while the patient ID in the drug here is a what? Foreign key. Do you get it now? So let me now add the record to implement these two for us. So I say select, let me see there's a record, select all the record from patient. Now, let's see there's a record in our patient table. Okay, good. We have some patient record now. That's good. But do we have a record inside the drug? Let's see again. Select work. Okay, drug. Now, record. Very good. Very good. Now, like what you said now, for every record we are going to add to the drug table here, there must be a patient record. Do you get it now? Like now, this is a patient 1, 2, 3, 4 here now. So if I'm trying to add the record to if I'm going to give the drug to the patient, I must specify the ID of that patient that I'm giving drug to. So maybe if I say I want to give drug to patient 9 now, which is not here, the relationship we created here should prevent it. Do you get it now? That's what we want to learn within the next one. Just one how you want to do this class today so that not to take much of your time. So I'm now inserting a record into the wall. I say insert into wall. Table name is drug. I want to add the patient. I want to add the drug for the patient now. I will now say values. Okay. So here now, I'm going to follow the structure for the wall for the drug here and follow the structure for the drug. Do you get it now? My drug structure said that what? I'm going to first specify the what? The drug ID, the drug name. Okay. The drug ID is one now. Okay. The drug name now, which I want to give is what? I call it what? Paracetamol. Okay. Now, and the date, expiry date for that drug is 23/10/2026 now. Okay, that's the date now. But my SQL server, when you are input the date, the year must come first. Do you get it now? The year must come first. So I'm going to say 2026. 2026 now. 10. Okay, 23. This is how I have to input the date in my SQL. 26. Okay. So after that again, the next column here is what? Quantity and dosage. Okay. I put expiry date. Like how many quantity of the paracetamol now? Maybe I say 10. The dosage will be in quotation. I say 1-1. That means one morning, one night. Okay. Why the next one here now after the dosage is manufacturer, the company that produce that drug and the patient given drug to. Now I now see what? Emzor. Emzor Limited. That's the company that produce this. And lastly, which of the patient am I giving the paracetamol to? I say 7 now. And I end this. And you see now. So here now, I'm saying input the drug record 1, paracetamol, expire date, the quantity, you are given one dosage is 1-1. This is the company. You are giving to patient 7. But if you look at the patient 7 record did not exist. This record must not work. Let's see what happened here now. I press enter key. Can you see? System refused to accept this record because it's telling us that we cannot add or update a child row. A foreign key constraint fail. That is just because there is no patient called 7. And look at the what I give as an example that if you do something like this before and something like this now exist, this record 5 like this exists because there's no patient called patient 5 here and the system store it. That means your table has lost its integrity because relationship is not properly implemented. Do you get it now? But since we try to implement that one now, this one is not giving us error that this is not possible. I cannot give the drug to patient 7 because nobody is called patient 7 here. So when I now return back here and I say okay, give it to patient 3 now and I press enter key, you see system has set the record. They get it now. And if I say select drug now here, you can see I have the 4 drug in my database. So if I'm going to give one drug to other patient again, I can still use the same insert now. Okay, insert drug drug